Welcome to richplanet.net, the program which aims to uncover the truth behind the alien and UFO mystery. I'm Richard D. Hall, and this week's program is about the phenomena of alien abduction. You would expect that if people made up stories about their own abduction, the description of their experiences would be all quite varied. This is not, however, the case. The same characteristics in abduction cases crop up again and again. A description of a typical abduction starts in one's bedroom or sometimes outdoors, with the appearance of a bright light, followed by the feeling of complete paralysis apart from being able to move one's eyes. Abductees then describe being taken up and placed in a bright circular room where they are involuntarily examined. The examiners are invariably small and grey, with very large eyes, often supervised by larger beings. Instruments unlike standard Earth-based surgical instruments are then used to examine and take samples of blood, semen or eggs. The victim is totally paralysed throughout, but experiences a telepathic connection with the alien beings. Often, victims remember the controlling influence of the large, dark-coloured eyes, and sometimes describe tiny implants being inserted into the head, arm, leg or foot. The main problem for researchers about abduction cases is that victims cannot account for the time during which the abduction took place, sometimes described as missing time. It is believed by abduction investigators that aliens can induce a mental block in the victim's brain so that any memory of the events is obscured. The reason they do this is presumably so their activities and motives can remain hidden from the human race. Abduction researcher Derrel Simms claims that aliens can also plant false memories into the abductee's brain, which he refers to as a screensaver memory. It's quite rare for third parties to actually witness the abduction of an individual. This is because aliens usually choose to operate in a covert manner. However, in a very famous abduction case which took place in 1975, 6 witnesses observed the abduction of Travis Walton. The 7 men were working in a logging crew in a national forest in Arizona. In a recent interview, Walton described his abduction. We had just finished a hard day's work and were headed home. It was starting to get dark. We were driving down this dirt road, if you could call it that. It was more of a trail through the trees, and we saw this light coming through the trees. It wasn't like we all saw it at the same time and then said, "Hey, what's that?" All 7 of us were sitting there having different conversations amongst us. Then one by one, people started falling silent and looking in the direction I was looking. But as we got closer, we started saying, "What the hell is that up there?" At first, it wasn't real alarming because it was the deer hunting season. We thought it could be a deer hunter's camp or something. But the closer we got, the stranger it was. We were headed up the ridge, and the trees at the peak of the ridge were to our right. The light seemed to be coming from higher than ground level. It wasn't until we got round this thicket I could see the light coming across the road ahead, and when we got up to this opening where we could look up through the clearing and see the object, it was unmistakable. It was just coming round, and boom, there it was. Travis then got out of the truck and walked towards the craft. It was just a silly impulse at the time. It was kind of scary. I was just showing off to the guys. A bunch of guys all out there in the woods trying to be tough guys and show each other what we're made of. Kind of competitiveness on the job. This thing was less than 100 feet away. This was not some little point of light in the sky. It was an object giving off light, but we could distinctly see the metallic surface. Travis Walton was then struck by a beam of light from the craft which knocked him out. This was witnessed by the other 6 crew members who did not hang around for long. The next thing he remembers is lying flat on his back and gradually regaining consciousness. I didn't come to real quickly. I was in and out for a long time. I was in a lot of pain, and it seemed like the pain, when it would be worse, would knock me out again. When I finally overcame this, I was struggling to kind of wake up and realize what was going on. At first I didn't know where I was. I didn't even remember approaching the object or anything. Then I was thinking that I had been hurt and been taken to hospital, because I was laying on my back and there was this light above me, like a light fixture you might see in a doctor's office. When I finally got where I could focus my eyes, I could hear the sound of movement around me. I'm thinking that these are just people taking care of me. But then, when I could focus and I saw the face of this creature, I just flipped out. They were vaguely human. They weren't insect-like or reptilian or anything like that. The eyes were just so overpowering to me. There was something just overpowering about their eyes. Their gaze was just unbearable. Walton then managed to get up off the table and fend off the 3 alien grey type beings that were examining him. Abduction expert Derrel Simms explains.
The famous Travis Walton case, my friend Travis found himself on a craft and was more than mortified when he saw these little creatures coming toward him. And he picked up something, and he said, I don't know what it was. It kind of looked like a big wrench. And he said, I was going to hit him with it, stop them from coming after me. And he said, at that point, he said, instantly, this large human, very well built, very tall, came in, and all the conversations took place there were mental.
He was then taken off the craft into a large hangar where he saw other UFOs stationary on the ground. The hangar had some kind of internal artificial light, very similar to normal daylight. This hangar may have been a mothership of some kind. He was then taken to another part of the hangar where he saw 2 more human beings, one male and one female, who sedated him. He then remembers waking up by the side of a road and catching a glimpse of a craft disappearing into the sky totally silently. He then made his way along the road to a service station where he called his brother-in-law. When he eventually got picked up, he was told, to his surprise, that he had been missing for 5 days.